Thanks for tuning in to the Old Dirty Basement. On today's episode, we're covering part 1 of Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy, a handsome man, a charismatic man, a ladies' man.
Yeah.
I'd say a smart man, a conniving man, a gentle man.
Oh,
Maybe. We'll find out. Thought this one turned out pretty good. Hope you enjoyed. Speaking of which, if you're enjoying the podcast, leave that 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple. On Apple, you can leave a written review. Sit back and relax and enjoy part 1 of Ted Bundy.
This is the Old Dirty Basement, home to debauchery, madness, murder, and mayhem. A terror-filled train ride deep into the depths of the devil's den.
With a little bit of humor.
History.
and copious consciousness.
I'm your announcer, Shallow Throat. Your hosts are Dave, Matt, and Zap. I love you, Matthew McConaughey. All right, all right, all right.
Hey, this is Dave,
Matt,
And Zap.
and welcome to the Old Dirty Basement.
where every week we cover a true crime.
Murder,
Or compelling story.
So sit back.
relax.
And comprehend.
Hello, 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 everybody out there in Radio Land or Podland or Disneyland, whatever land you're at.
Yeah.
We are here at the Old Dirty Basement, again with a terror-filled train ride for you guys tonight.
Deep into the devil's den.
Yes, yes.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a guy we're talking about today. How's it going, Dave?
Oh, not bad, not bad.
Yeah, I was
Zap,
waiting for the intro.
Zap, how you doing?
I'm great, man. Thanks for asking.
I was so excited about this one. I couldn't. I just had to keep going there.
Yeah, this one's a long time coming, I think. I think we talked about this one early on, and we figured we'd save it, but
Yeah.
I think now's the time.
He's a heavy hitter.
Big time.
He is, hell, we've been talking about this guy since we did Dahmer.
Yeah.
He's up there with that.
Yeah.
And he's in that group.
Yeah, because Zap does the research and stuff and writes up the script and, basically all the fun facts. And,
The Zap Lab.
The Zap. What'd you say? The Zap Lab?
The Zap Lab.
The Zap Lab, yeah. So he emails everything over, and I'm like, holy shit, dude. This is like Dahmer level.
Yeah, for sure.
As far as like the facts on this. It's crazy.
Yeah, I had to go to the library, research.
I know.
Research the research.
There is so much info on this guy. Oh, and this guy, by the way, the notorious Ted Bundy.
Yeah, and I just thought this guy scored 4 touchdowns in high school
Yeah, and sold shoes.
and sold shoes. Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, I thought he was a wrestler. He used to wear a black singlet.
Yeah.
He was
Oh,
kind
that
of
guy.
chubby. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well done.
That was the old King Kong Bundy.
King Kong
Yeah,
Bundy.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Who is
But it's-
dead?
Yeah, he's dead.
I think
So is
they're
this
all
guy.
dead.
Yeah, they're all dead.
Oh, wait. So that's right. So is this guy.
Yeah.
They're all dead.
King Kong, was he what was that term for a bad guy wrestler?
A heel?
The heel.
That's right. The heel.
So King Kong Bundy was a heel?
Yes,
Yeah, he was never, ever a good guy.
Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, I remember him.
Much like the guy we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was a heel.
This guy was a heel, basically forever. So Ted Bundy, a charming, charismatic, and educated gentleman. This debonair darling turned malicious manipulator was responsible for at least 30 murders, including 12 decapitations, solely of young women and girls. Media sensation, homicidal maniac, psychopath, sadist, rapist, and necrophiliac, Ted Bundy became both a household name and a nomenclature for nightmares.
That's scary.
Dude, so it's interesting about this guy. So his whole thing went down when we were kids. Like, I'm saying he went down when we were very little kids.
Yeah, like 3.
76, I think, 73, 74, 75.
Well, I mean, his final days were far later than that, like a decade or so. But I mean, so this guy was dead and gone by the time we were, let's say, teenagers, right?
Yeah.
But yet, it's a name we know. No, so we were just talking when we did Jack the Ripper. So Jack the Ripper, that's survived 130 some years, that story. Dahmer will go down in history and all that good stuff. So, but why would we know at all about Ted Bundy?
I think it was the media.
Well, that was 89, I think, when the, I don't want to jump too
Yeah,
fast.
we're not gonna jump too far
89
forward.
when everything went down, that would have been, that we would have probably saw by then. And I mean, 13, 14.
That makes sense.
I would think I remember it being on the news. I kind of remember it back then.
Brian Gumbel, I think, did a thing on it. He's like, today, and I remember early in the morning or something, like when he was sleepy time.
But outside of that, I think it was more on my radar in high school and later on when I got more interested in true crime and all that. You know, when you start like looking into like, oh, well, what other serial killers were there? I mean, this guy's up at the top.
Sure.
So I think it's just one of those names that's just, you don't remember probably when you first heard it. You just know, you feel like you've known it forever.
Right.
So,
Right. It's like the Challenger accident, right?
Right.
So, I mean, that was certainly in our formative years.
What you were saying too, Zap, where you have like the psychopath, sadist, rapist, and necrophiliac. There was also claims with this dude with some cannibalism and other things like that.
Oh, really?
I didn't. Yeah, that's news to me.
Yeah, but see, a lot of this stuff too. I mean, we'll talk about it as we go on. This guy, there's a lot of things that I don't know. Towards the end, he was saying a lot of things, and there's also a lot of things that were given to him, maybe. But were they looking for somebody? Were they looking for? It's
fair, and you bring up, and that's a great foreshadow because by the time we get to the end of this, hell, even the end is going to take a long time to get through.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, and it's a real interesting twist that he put on this himself.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so yeah, all right, well, fuck it, let's get into this, huh?
Yeah, let's do it.
We got a lot of ground to cover, so let's get going before somebody's wife, who shall remain nameless, comes down telling us to
button it up.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So this cat, Ted Bundy, was born on November 24th, 1946. His actual handle when he was born, it was Ted Cowell. He didn't become Ted Bundy until after he was legally adopted when he was 5. His mom ended up getting married or remarried or whatever it is when he was 5. This cat never knew his father. His biological didn't bother. That's a shame. In fact, he was initially raised by his grandparents in, here we are, Pennsylvania, Roxborough, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I looked that up. It's like Northwest Philly.
Yeah, right outside of Philly, who just lost the damn
World Series.
Not the World Series.
NL
Championship Series.
You know, I was looking on the map, and it kind of seems like it might be right when you get off the turnpike and you're heading down the Schuylkill, and you look off to the left and kind of see those neighborhoods.
Yep, you'll see Roxborough, you'll see Manayunk.
But that really wasn't influential in his life.
No.
Yeah, he got out of Dodge pretty quick. He wasn't a Philly kid.
It wasn't eating tomato pie.
Yeah, he's walking around with like a Phillies cap or
correct.
He's like, you fucking Eagles, man. Yeah. Fucking Eagles.
He might have been at the stadium, you know.
True. Yeah, who knows?
He might have been. I think no.
Not at that age.
Not at that age, no. So yeah, he was raised by his grandparents. It's interesting, you know, when you look back on this guy. So he was born at this place. It was like the whomever's named house for unwed mothers or some such shit. Like it was just so blatantly, you know, if you're going into this place, it was basically like walking into the clinic.
It's like a shame.
Yeah,
thing.
Correct. It's shame. And in fact, like there was this stigma, such a stigma back then. And I mean, look, we all know this, even, you know, us growing up nowadays, oh, it's cool to be pregnant, right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
But back then, like if you were an unwed mother, if you got knocked up, like, yeah, man, that was shame all day. You're
going to disappear for a little while. And yeah.
I mean, to the point where his grandparents would keep this cat around, and not just keep him around, obviously, but they would introduce him as their own son.
Their son, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like his sister, or I'm sorry, like his mom was his older sister.
Older sister, yeah. That they said that the mother went away to have Ted, and then the grandfather was like, you know, move back in and basically will be the parent.
Well, she couldn't take care of him. So that's why, yeah. But like you said, he thought his mom was his sister for the longest time until he got older and was like, wait, you're too, okay, I get it.
I get it. I've seen there's more jacked up, but yeah, for sure. So yeah, at some point.
But altogether, like you said, not all that bad.
No,
like,
not the worst.
Yeah, not the worst.
There's plenty of kids that came up with single parents. Plenty.
Yeah, he's not even close to the triad. He's still in like the rectangular house shape.
Yeah, it's like nothing. It's like a 20-sided dice.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So at some point, him and his mom moved out to Tacoma, Washington when he was just 4 years old.
So Zap, I see here you had like grandfather conflicting stories. Don't believe the hype. So what did you mean by that?
So by that, thank you, Christ, I skipped over that note. So there were, you know, when this scumbag ends up getting his comeuppance, so many analysts and psychologists and whomever are going to look back and say, just like Matt had alluded, like, what or mentioned, I should say, what caused this? What went wrong in this kid's upbringing in his life and shit? And so there were claims that, and this actually is from Ted himself at one point, where he would say, oh, well, my grandfather, he beat the shit out of me, or he beat the shit out of my grandmother, or he was just a terrible drunk, or he was just an awful, awful dude. Whereas conversely, when you're starting to look into try to corroborate the story of a fucking maniac, by the way,
right?
Just to see, is this guy telling the truth? Maybe other people will, as character witnesses, will say, no, man.
But there was all kinds of, like you said,
old man Cowell was
stories.
a nice dude. Yeah.
There was nothing that I read or that was said, or nothing that he would say to one person, how there was nothing that affected his childhood growing up. He had a pretty normal, decent life. And then when he's talking to like somebody down the line, his childhood was the most messed up you can imagine.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying with this guy. This guy is night and day. This guy is a true character of like what he was, or what he wanted you to believe that he was. But real quick, I do have, when you were saying, this maniac, this crazy person, this person that could commit those things, he says something at the end of his life there where it kind of strikes you as like, wow. But we'll get to all that later.
Well, two stories that are alleged, or people allude to maybe being a possibility of something that happened. Well, there's a story with his aunt, who was his sister at that time, that she said that when he was 3 years old, she was asleep on the bed and he put knives all around her. And basically when she woke up and came out of it, he was standing at the edge of the bed, like smiling at her.
Jesus
when she was
Christ.
This is from his aunt / sister.
Story though, 3-year-old with knives.
And then the other one that, there was an article in Vanity Fair back in 1989 that they alluded to maybe the possibility that psychologists and psychiatrists say that maybe there was some incest going on, that the grandfather was actually the father.
I thought it was Marilyn Manson.
I did.
Yeah,
I did see that. I did read that. And I didn't even bother including it because
it's alleged.
Yeah. I mean, it's so much of this, and I see where you're going, Matt. I can see the look in your eye. There's so much of this guy's life that, as we will later, as Matt mentioned, and we will all mention when we get close to the end, this guy was all over the place.
Right.
Just all over the place.
And this is just like, as a story gets bigger and bigger, people come out with stories to add to it, or maybe just to get notoriety. Like, so you never know what's true, what's not, and what, obviously there's a lot out there on this guy. I just thought that was interesting, but those are two interesting things.
He's well educated, which we'll talk about, and a psychology major. And we'll get into other things that
he knows how to play the game.
He's no dummy.
Right.
The guy's not a dummy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that he put those out there. Those came from others. Those stories.
The stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
that's what I mean. Still, it's like, where were the stories? Anybody has a story.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And everybody's story is important. Everybody's life is a story. Well, as Ted grows and as Ted grows up, I mean, here we go. There's what went wrong, what could have caused anything. So from one side, you will hear from varying people who may have known him, well, there were allegations of animal cruelty and bullying. Like, for example, there were stories that he would take neighborhood kids into the woods, beat the shit out of them, or make them strip, or just embarrass them, or just demean them, or do whatever he possibly could. Just this awful, terrible bully. And there was a single story of some cat he had hung on a clothesline by its tail, and he lit it on fire.
So wasn't that was like a Dahmer thing though? But I think they've seen Dahmer do it. These are just things that, I think I remember one time, or yeah, that Bundy dude was crazy. I remember, and it wasn't even like Ted Bundy. It could have been like Joe Smith. Right.
Conversely though, as time went on, or maybe even at the same time, he was actually a relatively social and likable and approachable and fun-loving guy, according to other classmates. So these, again, you're going to hear some stories from one people like, yeah, that guy's an asshole, or he's burning cats. And other people say, dude, that guy's awesome, man. We go to the Burger the King and hang out and do whatever.
I think you're kind of shy, regular type kid just growing up, just doing his thing.
There's a documentary on Netflix, the Ted Bundy tapes. When they're talking about his early life, there's a girl on there that was a childhood friend of his, and tells a story about he was in Boy Scouts and stuff. And I don't know if it was at a Boy Scout camp or a summer camp or what was going on, but she told a story of he was setting these tiger traps up for kids to fall into. And
What's a tiger trap?
like basically where
He put stakes
Stakes
inside
and
the
stuff.
ground and like cover them with leaves.
yeah, like
and-
hollow out some ground and then put so that when you run over it, you fall
But
down.
you never did
it.
anything like that as a kid, like in the woods?
No.
You didn't make like traps and stuff?
Well, we talked about that on Friday. I wasn't really out in the woods.
Oh,
much
that's right.
doing all
Dang it,
that,
I
yeah.
forgot. I'm sorry.
But we would cover potholes and people would fall in there.
Cars would fall in.
Day was it next Friday after 13?
Right, that's right. But she told this story about him doing that and a girl actually falling in there and getting all
And
jacked
got
up.
hurt,
Her
yeah.
leg got all gouged up. That was on that documentary that I watched, which was real interesting.
But then
So-
wouldn't like a counselor or something be like, yeah, I was a witness to that?
Well, she was. I mean, I don't know if that counselor might not be around anymore.
Yeah,
This
true,
is
true.
so many
A long
years
time
ago.
ago.
She's in her 60s or 70s now, recounting this story. But so there was just one story that he talked about. That's kind of fucked up for a kid to do that.
Sure.
Because you know somebody's going to get hurt.
But you did that stuff in Boy Scout camp. I remember doing like trying to make stuff to like catch bunny rabbits and shit. You did that. Like you put the one big log or like a big stone up on like a stick and you go and you pull the stick and kind of squash things.
Yeah, but to catch humans and stuff.
But I don't think it was to catch humans.
I don't know.
That is a whole different story.
Yeah.
Or maybe I don't know. When you're a kid, you do dumb stuff.
True.
But back to when Zap was saying, I like just a point that I want to make early in the story. Like, why does something have to be something to cause something? Like, why does there have to be an event in your like? What if the guy just was
Fucked up.
not even that? Like, what if he was just into what he thought was cool? I don't know.
I'm not. I'll take the. I'm pretty sure I understand where Matt's going with this. In fact, I know where Matt's going with this. It's like, look,
Later in, yeah.
we all did fucked up shit when we were kids. Dude, I am definitely not going to deny that. Like, I liked playing with matches, or I did this, that, or the other
We would
thing.
go down to where you were at those big long pipes and stuff. We would find firecrackers and
Sure.
one person being the other end crawling in. You sit there and throw firecrackers inside. You don't think anything bad's going to happen,
Right.
But then some kids come back like they got to go to the hospital because you blew their arm up.
Yeah.
But you're like, I didn't mean to do that.
Right. And that doesn't later on mean that I'm going to be a serial killer.
Yes.
No, I agree.
Yes.
I agree. But these are just stories that obviously they're trying to tie something. When somebody grows up to be like this, they're just looking for anything. Sure. Anything we can tie to him being, screwed up. I mean, you could look at me and say, oh, he watched all them horror movies when he was a kid.
Like, yeah, Dave was in the city and listened to rap music.
Yeah.
Now he wants to be gangster.
Now he wants to be a gangster.
These kids and their raps.
No, but you can tie that to anything.
Well, he wasn't exactly crisp and clean with no caffeine. He was, in fact, arrested twice in high school. Once on, and to be very clear, suspicion of burglary. And then again, suspicion of theft of a motor vehicle.
I did read about that, what you're just saying. And I think there was, he did like to go to like convenience stores and steal stuff just for like the thrill of it.
Sure.
They said like our friends like said, and that's something that I think is completely normal.
Oh my God, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Like if one of it, like there's stuff that we look at. I mean, we knew friends of ours when we
Yeah.
went and we would go to the malls. I can't speak for all of you, but sometimes during the holiday season, I didn't have much money, but you would try to like maybe get a DVD or a CD or a video cassette tape or something. That was cool, but that doesn't make you a murderer.
So you're the reason the malls are closing. Thank you.
Yeah. That's the reason that the prices of goods and services
They're
are so high.
I know.
That's why a gallon of milk is $14.99.
It's not Joe Biden, it's Matt.
That's right.
It's
I'm
his
sorry.
fault.
Ugh. Well, nonetheless, despite the suspicions of burglary and theft of a motor vehicle, he did, in fact, successfully graduate high school in 1965.
So he made it. One other thing too that I read that he had a speech impediment. And,
Yes,
and
he
that he got
stuttered.
picked on for that.
Really?
And that's a theme that I actually when Zap and I did the pig farmer, that's something he had, and I think there was at least one or two other ones where they had that speech impediment as a kid and got picked on.
Yeah.
Real quick fun fact into that. It was later on when he was in trouble. He was interviewed by a group of certain people that he was completely normal. And then when he would be on television for something, he would kind of get shy and go to like his stutter type.
Like an Ed Norton from
Yes, like an
Primal
Ed-
Fear.
yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it was anything, the stuttering thing, if it was like that one guy from
Mookie.
No, Superstar.
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 Correct.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're talking about Mary Gallagher.
Mary Catherine Gallagher.
Yeah.
So she gets there's this new kid that comes to class. He doesn't speak at all. But he rides a motorcycle. He's all badass and mysterious and whatever.
Right.
It ends up being the guy that had, when they were kids, he saved her from drowning in a pool. Or I'm sorry, she saved him from drowning in a pool. And he ended up being her love interest.
Oh shit! No, I remember that skit. But I didn't hear that.
Sometimes when I get nervous, I put my hands on her armpit and I smell like this.
And sniff them.
You need to know that I love that movie, dude, so much. It's just
it's that Catholic school vibe.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's nailed. Absolutely nailed it. All right. So this guy, growing up, good job. You made it. He went on to attend the University of Washington and majored in, of all things, Chinese.
Of all things.
Well, I'm just saying.
Like what? Like just the language?
Speaking Japanese. No.
Maybe he wanted to maybe he wanted to go overseas or something, or get a job somewhere else, or you know what I mean, in China perhaps.
It's possible. I guess I look at it and I just think of majoring in a language. It's just that I'm sure it is a thing. I know it is a thing. It's just something that escapes my desire for a career path.
Yeah, because like, what would you do with that? I guess maybe like we know somebody, right, that does that in the military.
Speaks Chinese.
No, but then the colonel's brother, and then what he does, like with language.
Not anymore. He's not in the military.
Oh, okay.
He just lives in
Korea
land.
He just happens to live in the Orient.
In North.
I thought his thing was that
the good side.
He lives on the good side.
I thought his thing was like he would intercept messages and decode them and all that.
He might have way back when.
Okay. Yeah, maybe
Way back
I'm wrong
when.
on that.
I don't know about all that.
We
can't talk about that
top
stuff.
secret friends.
Yeah, crazy talk.
It's going to be SWAT team coming in through.
You're going to see
Oh man,
busting through the ceiling.
Yeah, better keep it on the low.
Well, not surprisingly, with a major in Chinese, he dropped out in 1968.
Dummy.
So this dude, you big dummy.
Big dummy.
This guy now is just a beatnik, right? He's 22 years old. He's got no career. He's got no ambition. And he was, because of no career and no ambition, he got dumped by his longtime girlfriend, Diane Edwards. That's a name I want you to remember. Yes. Diane Edwards.
Yeah.
She was, they were saying that was a big part. I don't know if we're talking about that later.
I mean, she was a big part.
But they said that could have been the one that he got a little cuckoo over.
Could
one
be.
of them, I thought he might have thought that was the one. And then she was like, I got no time for you, big dummy.
I'm going to hitch my wagon to that theory, but that theory will unfold as we get there. In the meantime, working odd jobs, doing whatever, he met a single mother, Elizabeth Klopfer, in 1969 and dated this broad for close to a decade.
Yeah, it was weird with her also. There was that whole story with Zac Efron. It was one of the Bundy movies, but it was all about her life and like when she found him, you know, and took him in. And it was weird because he was like, he really dug her, but she had a young daughter at the time too.
Sure did.
Yeah. So it was, you know, people think of this guy again, later on in the story, you know, how can somebody be one way and completely be another way?
Yeah.
Man of many faces.
Dude, it's, look, between Diane Edwards and Elizabeth Klopfer, this guy, I'm telling you, these broads fucked this guy up.
Oh, big time.
I'm telling you, man.
Well, Liz too, like, yeah, we'll find out.
Oh, yeah.
She bloop, 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 bloop.
Morse code, sending those smoke signals. All right. So I guess with the inspiration of now dating his broad and helping her to raise her young daughter, he did end up resuming college in 1970. He changed his major this time to psychology. He said, forget Chinese. And ultimately graduated in 1972.
Congratulations.
So I got two things that happened during that time I thought were pretty interesting. Now, this is according to Bundy's testimony. He said his first attempted kidnapping was in Ocean City, New Jersey in 1969. So that would have been during the time or around the time that he was involved with this Elizabeth.
How do we, is this something he claimed?
He claimed.
Okay.
He claimed.
Yeah, this is just him. Like we said,
Sure.
he says a lot.
He says a lot. He does.
But, you know.
So he says he tried to kidnap somebody in
That was
1969
his first attempt
in Ocean City, New Jersey.
Ocean City, New Jersey.
Failure.
So just to think that he was nearby here is pretty scary.
Well, you know what they say. Kiss her where it smells. Take her to New Jersey.
To New Jersey.
I was going to say, I was like, what?
Also, around this time, fun fact.
Is it fun or not?
It is fun.
Okay.
They're all fun.
Oh, he worked at a suicide hotline during this time, 1971. So that would have been around the time that he was majoring in psychology. he worked at a suicide hotline, took phone calls and stuff like that.
Makes sense.
Probably to hone those skills of dealing with people and, people that are have issues and unstable or whatever. So
yeah, I read about that, what you were just saying. And there was, in one of the movies about him, they were showing that he would use that to get to know people around the area. So he would say, hey, you have anything else? They would call, we'd make it kind of vanilla. And then he'd start getting to know these people and he'd be like, oh, what was that in the background? Like you'd hear a dog barking or, where do you go to school? And like these girls would be like, I go to, this place or I'm still in high school. And, hey, well, where you live about, what's your favorite spot to go eat? And he finds all these things out and he's very methodical about doing these. And these could be things that he could use in his favor if he would ever run into these girls. And he would kind of like get to know them through these hotlines and stuff like that.
Almost like a chat room.
Now that is interesting. It's certainly interesting. However, there's a part of his MO kind of conflicts with where you're going with that. Mm-hmm. But again, we'll get to the MO when there's actually something to talk about relative to a motive.
Right.
I wonder, Matt and Dave, if the chatting with the people on the phone, again, this is a suicide hotline. Maybe these guys are trained like, hey, man, keep them talking. Like, Don't let them shut up or don't let them get off the phone and go grab a cold razor and a hot bath.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, just keep them talking. Like, ask them about themselves. Mm-hmm. The more somebody talks, like, I'll tell you what, I mean, there's a quick conversation opener. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about yourself. What do you do for fun? Not what do you do for a fucking living. What do you do for fun?
Right.
People will love to talk about themselves.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. This would, I would hope, uplift the suicidal person's spirits. Mm-hmm. I'm no scientist, but maybe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. According to like psychiatrists, psychologists, and whoever else that studied this guy said that it might have been too for him a way to play God. Like, you know what I mean? With people.
I just saved your life tonight.
Don't you think you get fired though if you'd be like, hey, I think you should go out there and grab that gun.
No. Well, that not
like, what do you wait a second, dude? You're 40 years old and you work at a gas station, dude. Just end it now, man.
Yeah. Come on, Ted. You're 0-40.
Yeah, you're 0-40. Come on, Ted. Come on, dude. Like everybody has these little like sheets.
Yep.
Yeah.
They keep on like Xing out his stuff. He's like, damn it. That's another one.
I just think about what is it? It's like a safety protocol. Like it's been this many days since an accident. Yeah. So it's been this many days since a suicide.
Ted's bad.
Ted's like at 6 today. I'm like, no, Ted. It's the opposite. God damn it.
No, I actually they were meaning it the other way, but I know what you're saying. That would be. But no, he was like he basically had their life in his hands. But then during that time, he was saving them according to the people that worked with him. Yep. He was good at it. They said. Yeah, which was insane to think, but he was a smooth talker.
He could talk, man.
Which I'm guessing so he certainly learned how to talk, and that maybe it's that psychology or that psychology degree that really helped him to come out of that shell and learn how to talk, because as he entered his truly his professional life, he ended up working in a couple of politically appointed positions for a few years. I mean, that's just, look, I got to meet this guy who introduced me to this guy who I worked on this campaign, or I helped that guy out doing this. And I mean, it worked out for him. He had a job waiting for him. He just asked for it. And then from there, he attended law school at the University of Puget Sound.
Yeah, he wanted to go to like a better school, but they said his LSATs were low.
Right.
I guess that's like the test you take to get into law school, and he didn't do so hot.
Well, instead of studying, he was out murdering.
Yeah.
So they're like,
there was a guy on that documentary that was on there being interviewed, and he was a guy that he was saying Ted really looked up to him. He was a lawyer, I think, and everything that Ted wanted to be, and he's the one that told him, like, hey, just go to this Puget Sound, get your degree, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to go like to the biggest, best schools and all that, you know. But so he was I don't want to say felt defeated by that, but he was kind of bummed that he was going to that smaller school. Yeah.
Get over it.
Right. Yeah, maybe.
Still got a degree. Relax, dude.
That's true. And look, not for nothing, anybody from the central Pennsylvania area, there is Penn State at Harrisburg. They have a campus. When you graduate from Penn State Harrisburg, your degree reads Penn State.
Yeah, we're going through that with my son.
It is not at all suffixed with Harrisburg. Your degree reads Penn State. On your resume, you're going to indicate, I graduated from Penn State, because that is true.
And that's the other 20-some satellite campuses Penn State has throughout our lovely state of Pennsylvania.
All of them. Thank you. That's absolutely true.
And you will save yourself about 100.
A shit ton.
That's 1,000.
Saved it.
I didn't mean dollars.
Pesos.
Yeah.
well, I don't know. A few years from now, who knows what we'll be spending?
Robots.
Robots. Let's see. Oh, okay. So job. He's moving around, traveling with doing political stuff. I know there was some political stuff he was doing in California because in 1973, he ended up reconnecting with that ex-girlfriend of his, that Diane Edwards, who now lived in California at the time. This is that same Diane that dumped him,
Ditched him.
called him a bum because he dropped out of school, didn't have a job.
And she was uppity. Like she came
course
from
she
money
was.
and
Of course.
you know what I mean? So he was always threatened by her.
So I'm sorry, he kept up with this. He reconnected with his ex-girlfriend, but at the same time, he was still living with and dating that single mother. I don't know if he was living with her, but he was definitely dating
Liz.
and carrying on with that Elizabeth Klopfer. Yeah, we shall call her Liz.
Liz.
Thank you, Dave. We shall call her Liz.
Yeah.
So, all right. Not too long after, though, he ended up So he started redating that Diane Edwards. Oh man, he's successful, right? You got yourself a psychology degree, and oh man, you're going to law school. He ended up dumping that broad in January of 1974 after they'd had a 5 or 6 month relationship.
That's nothing. You get over that quick.
Well, I firmly believe he did that just to basically say, you did this to me, now I'm going to do it to you.
He wanted to control, yeah.
Yep.
It's like Can't Buy Me Love. You know, like that movie. Remember that with Patrick Dempsey?
Yeah, we just met him.
Where like that girl in the beginning. Yeah, we did just meet him.
We just met him.
Yeah, at the Miracle event.
Yeah.
I did not. I have never seen that movie.
Oh, it's a great movie.
You got to see that movie.
Okay.
So basically, in the movie, Patrick
I might
Dempsey-
do that on a vintage cinema review.
We should
That's
do
how
that
good it
one.
is.
Okay.
Actually, I want to do that movie.
Actually,
Maybe
when
we
I
have to
when I
go
was,
out
I
there.
wanted to be Patrick Dempsey.
Oh, he was great.
He was awesome.
So he's kind of like nerdy, whatever. And then this hot girl who's popular and rich and all that.
Yep.
He's like infatuated with her. He pays her. He saves up money and pays her to be his girlfriend
Okay.
to impress everybody at school. Then he becomes super popular, and then he dumps her. You know what I mean? Once they're
Yeah,
together.
but she was like, "What the?"
I don't want to ruin the ending.
Yeah, it's a great.
It
movie.
reminded me of this, but
Okay.
minus the love.
Interesting. Mine.
You can't
it's,
buy me death.
It's just like this minus the love. Fun fact. I can't stand Patrick Dempsey. And what turned me off on Patrick Dempsey was his awful, and I mean atrocious acting in With Honors.
See, we're not counting old Patrick Dempsey. This
Oh.
is like when he was a kid. This is like starting off in Hollywood Patrick Dempsey.
What about like McDreamy now? Or
Yeah,
whatever
see,
it is?
F that.
I
I'm
never
with you.
watched it, but-
That's crap.
Is that
Grey's Anatomy.
thank you, Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
No.
No,
okay.
we're talking like Patrick Dempsey when he's like 20.
You can hat at.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right, let's see. Okay, so he dumped his ex-girlfriend in January of 74. And I mean completely cut off communication. And again, I think some of it was from power, but at the same time, not but a couple of months, or I should say at that time, he started skipping class. And then by April of 74, he had stopped attending classes completely.
Just dropped out.
Just dropped out. Done. Now it is interesting. We get to his criminal life when we discover his first confirmed criminal history when it began with assault on January 4th of 1974. Again, he broke up with that Edwards chick in January of 74, and January 4th, 74, enter Karen Sparks, who was a student at the University of Washington. Old Ted snuck into her apartment, beat her with a metal bar he'd removed from her bed frame, and then he jammed it up her vagina. Now, this chick survived. However, she was left with permanent brain damage and hearing and vision loss.
That's pretty brutal.
Why wasn't he in jail for that?
Well, they didn't catch him yet.
Yeah.
Was it him?
Was it?
I don't know.
I don't know. But I can tell you that wasn't enough. The assault just wasn't enough. He got a little tased of going after these women. And then we get to, all right, his true career, his true calling in life, killing women.
Murder.
What was he doing during this time? To get,
Like for a living?
yeah.
I mean, he was living with the one chick. He was,
But I was like a lot of the stories about him don't say what he was doing.
For a job? Yeah, I don't know if he was...
Where was he gainfully employed? Did he just hang out?
I think at this point,
Was he on welfare?
I'm pretty sure at this point he was at the Department of Emergency Services for the state of Washington.
Okay.
He left that suicide hotline. Again, he started getting very politically connected.
Well,
And then this Department of Emergency Services, this was just a hey man, look, I need a job. Okay, cool. Here you go. Here's a job.
One other thing that I know, he worked for the Seattle Crime Commission right before the murder started. So he was able to find out how law enforcement works, how they track murders, how they do all that.
Okay.
He did that. I mean, he was probably had the thought in his head, like, oh, let me get in here with these guys and kind of see guys and girls, whoever's there. Let me see how they operate. How do they track these people down? So he had an idea how law enforcement investigates and tracks killers and stuff. Now, whether or not he was there while these murders were going on, I'm not.
See, that's what
sure.
nothing really.
He might have been still working there while the murders were going on.
I just found it interesting because, like, a lot of the stuff you read about it, like, we're all trying to piece it together, but they never really stated what he did for a living.
I'm pretty sure this guy maintained gainful employ like the whole way through.
Okay.
Absolutely the whole way through. It's just I'm guessing that our sources are going to focus on his murders, not necessarily how well he did on a performance evaluation at work.
Yeah.
Maybe. What do I know?
Yeah.
I'm no scientist. All right. So with assault now under his belt, he moved on to Linda Healy, who was a student at the University of Washington. On February 4th, 1974, this is like a month after the assault, he sneaks into this woman's apartment, beats her unconscious, then takes her off campus, rapes her, murders her, and then left her body in the woods.
Yeah, this girl here, she was a weather reporter for the Northwest Ski Reports. So
as a student,
yeah, she'd go in there and do that in the morning and then go off to school.
That's awesome.
But that morning, obviously the morning after, she didn't show up for work. And they were like, that's odd. One of her roommates heard the alarm clock going off and went up to the room and like saw that the bed was empty and turned the alarm clock off and thought, well, she left for work. So she didn't think much of it. But then as the hours went by and nobody heard from her, they called 911 or whatever, police. They came out. The bed and everything was perfectly made. The room was like nobody was there. But when they peeled back the covers, there was blood stains on the mattress and stuff.
Jesus.
So he made the bed.
That's Michael Jackson.
Yeah, blood stains
on the carpet.
On the carpet.
But
Linda, are you okay?
Yeah.
this is one of this is where it starts getting very gray for me. Like the areas is like these are all things like later on where he's like, yep, that was me. Yeah, that was me. Yeah, that was me.
Well,
but there's no evidence.
Well,
there's no
I mean,
evidence.
you'd be a good lawyer
well,
for or a defender.
He was a lawyer. Actually, he was very close to. I mean, he got away with how much stuff, really? But did he really have to get away with all that much?
I get what you're saying, but I would think the guy's guilty of some of these.
Was there any DNA? Was there any?
Oh, they didn't track DNA back then.
But wouldn't they try to look at the bodies afterwards? That's a whole thing. Like they would have had to have done stuff afterwards. Or be like, that probably wasn't him.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into it.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
For the bodies that they did find, the other ones could be, who knows?
Yeah,
they could be in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some things they found that only he would know.
Yeah,
and we'll get there. We'll get there. So, not but a little bit more than a month after that, we find Donna Manson, also a student. This one was at Evergreen State College. On March 12th, 1974, this poor woman was abducted, raped, murdered, and beheaded. Interestingly enough, the skull was never found. Later on, Bundy would claim that he cremated it. He threw it into his girlfriend's fireplace and burned it. That's horse shit.
Yeah, because it doesn't get hot enough.
Hell no. The heat that you need to burn bone,
skull,
dude. Yeah, again, and especially the thickest bone in your body. Yeah, I cry foul on that.
And this is a lot of stuff that when I claim it was crunch time for him to be like to try to stay alive.
Yeah.
He was like, that was. I'll tell you all about this if you give me 60 days, 180 days.
Well, we talked about that in H.H. Holmes. There was he tried to dispose of like a body, bones and stuff in a fireplace, and it just doesn't get hot enough.
It doesn't work.
It does not.
So yeah, there's one. Matt, you're bringing me around now.
I get one so far. I'm taking a score tally for the end of the
Zach, bring me back.
End of the podcast.
This one, I think we all will concur. There is no way this dude is burning a skull in a fireplace. It is impossible. You're not going to get that heat out of just typical wood or whatever. No chance.
I think I'm getting the second one too. Go ahead.
All right. Not but a month later, we come to Susan Rancourt. She too was a student. This one was at Central Washington State College. On April 17th, 1974, he abducted her and he murdered her.
Had to been Bundy.
Yeah.
Easy.
An abduction and a murder.
Easy.
That was him.
Now,
Okay, next.
There's a lot of people dying in a lot of places.
Right.
All right.
And I'm not making fun or doing,
No,
no.
like regarding like
I
the
love the doubt. No. You're casting the doubt. And look, not everybody's a believer. I get that.
Right.
Don't. I would say any of us are a fool if you just believe the first thing you read.
Right.
Yes.
I applaud you on that one, Matt. Next, we come to Rosa Parks. No, I'm kidding. It was not Rosa Parks. It was Roberta Parks. Roberta Parks was a student at Oregon State University. Again, like a month later, on May 6th, 1974, she was abducted, raped twice, and murdered.
I wonder how they know that part. She was raped twice.
So much of this has to come from his
From
confessions.
him. Oh, he said that.
He said that.
Okay. I got you.
And as Matt will repeat, and I will.
I'm not saying anything.
As Matt will repeat, and I will repeat, he says a lot.
He says a lot.
3 for me.
Yeah. So he's remembering back saying.
Not even remembering back. They're talking to this guy and they're saying, "Do you remember Roberta Parks?" Maybe I don't know.
Was that the chick on the bus? I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah. Well, Roberta. Did she have dark hair? Yeah, that was her. Yep. Yeah, that was me.
Well, that's the other thing. All these girls kind of look alike.
Which we will get to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That'll definitely come into play.
Next in line, his fifth murder victim was Brenda Ball. Now, this one was not a student.
That's not his MO.
Women who are students, not necessarily his MO.
Mm-hmm.
But on June 1st, 1974, this woman jumped into Bundy's car outside of a bar in Burien, Washington, and then ended up going to his place for sex and a strangulation.
Mm.
Is that what he offered?
Yeah.
That's what he said. What, you don't like pizza?
So Brenda Ball, not a student, went to his place for sex and strangulation, but no death.
Oh, she's dead as fried chicken.
Okay, I didn't read that.
She's dead.
I thought because some women like sex and strangulation.
No, she went for the come for the sex, but stay for the strangulation.
Right.
So she was the one that blamed it on Bundy.
She's dead as fuck.
Then who blamed it on Bundy?
Bundy blamed it on Bundy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's 4.
Right. As fried chicken. Wait. Oh, I see what you're keeping track of. I got it.
No, I'm being a dick now, but no, I mean that could be around the 4. That's looking like 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of signs pointing to this guy being a bad dude.
Was he ever in Whitechapel?
Could have been.
Yeah.
He might have been.
He ate there twice.
Yeah, he did eat there.
He was there for the 100 year or looking at the dates here, 90 year anniversary. Yeah. Next, we move on to poor Georgianne Hawkins, a student at the University of Washington. He's back to schoolgirls, students, I should say. On June 11th, not but 10 days later, I should say 10 days after Brenda Ball, June 11th, 1974, she was abducted, knocked unconscious, drove off site, and strangled, which means to death.
Yeah. All right, say the next word, though.
He claims he spent the entire night with her body before returning to where he'd abducted her, which was actually now a crime scene, to fetch her earrings and shoes with that corpse still in his car. So
just to cover evidence.
So picture in your mind, this is an alley, right? A Jack the Ripper alley.
Right.
They're investigating this alley because that's where this chick was last seen. So they're looking all over this alley for whatever they can find. He had ended up parking his car in a parking lot and took her to the next to the alley.
Right.
So that's where he ended up just making sure, like, oh man, when I was there, I knocked her earrings off, or she lost a shoe, or whatever during the struggle.
Right.
So he went back just to the parking lot, which was, again, the crime scene is not but feet from him, and he drove there to get the stuff to make sure that it wasn't, that the police didn't get it first.
To have evidence.
But how you said Jack the Ripper stuff and try to say these things that will live in the minds of people forever.
Sure.
And if you don't got long on this earth and you did some of these things, the more you put out there making you to be a monster, the more we're sitting here on a podcast in 2023 still talking about
Fair.
You. Right. Yeah. You want to pump numbers up.
Not even pumping the numbers up, but just making things sound like this guy killed beheaded her, took her sleeping with a body.
Don't you think though that there's probably things that he had told in private, like with investigators, that were like, okay, like we talked about with Samuel L. Like things that he said that were like, well, only he's not. We didn't put that out in the media, or we didn't offer him that information. Like he offered it to us, something that wasn't out there and like widely known, that they could tie to him and go, well, he had to have been there.
But how could you tie like sleeping in bed with a body or,
not
or
even
things like that?
but just the abduction part, or the body where it was left. They found
See,
the
a lot
bodies.
of that. There was some places where they said that he left the bodies or left stuff, and they could go there and they maybe found like one. Like I'm saying, this guy is a murderer. There's no ifs, ands, or whats about it.
I know what you're saying,
but
still,
when it goes in the theory about him, like, was it just him? Was he a copycat killer? There was a lot of psychologists that said, a lot of people that profile, they were like, I don't think it was just him. Like, I think he did murder people, but was he working with somebody? Is there another guy still out there? Was there somebody, just because somebody ends up dead, or just because, an abduction, a rape, that stuff happens every day.
Right,
it's just
like
not as much in social media as it is today, but back then it was a big thing.
Well, like we talked about in the Whitechapel, when Zapp started it off, it was 2 murders that weren't Jack the Ripper. That were in the same area, very close in like how the crimes went down. So yeah, I could see that.
So yeah, I mean, so Jack the Ripper was unique to the extent that his every single one of those murders was consistent to the extent that he would knife them, slice their throats first, and then do whatever he had given the short amount of time. Those first 2 murders in the Whitechapel did not go down that way. Neither did the last 2 or 3. He just had the 5 in the middle, that for which he took credit, according to letters sent to news outlets. But again, that's a whole other podcast. Tune into that one. Don't sleep on that one.
Yeah, that one's already out. Yeah.
So yeah, and again, I see where Matt's going with this, and I can't disagree with that to the extent that, with respect to George Ann Hawkins, when this guy is, in custody or whatever, or if he's trying to embellish his own. His own record. He's just like, yeah, tell you what, those cops were so stupid. I went back the next day, right next to the crime scene. I was right there looking at them laughing, and I grabbed a pair of earrings and a pair of shoes.
I mean, as we'll get into with this guy, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. If he was there when the cops were there, they'd be like, hey, what's going on? You need directions or no. Yeah, I think there's some stuff that maybe is going to come later on with this. I could be wrong on that, but I think there's some things.
Hey, look, there's
not when there's plea bargains involved.
No, nothing to do with that. I'm just talking about evidence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there's evidence coming.
Yeah.
For sure. Next, we move on to poor Janice Ott. On July 14th, 1974, again, like a month after his last victim, he abducted this woman in broad daylight at Lake Sammamish State Park, and that chick was never seen alive again.
Could we strike his last victim from the record, please, sir?
Janice Ott?
Yes.
Why?
No, you said, much like his last victim. I said, could we please strike that from...
Oh, saying that a victim.
No, just like, never mind. Like in a court case, I was like,
I see. I got you. I'm sorry. I was like, Jesus Christ. What the fuck?
That was never proven.
I got you. So, alleged victim.
Approach the bench.
To be clear, self-alleged victim. Anyways, yeah, so poor Janice was not, she was hanging out at this state park and never seen alive again. Dave, if I'm not mistaken, you know a bit of a backstory on this one.
Yeah, actually go through the next one, and it's the 2 that are tied together.
Okay.
And I'll kind of tell you what I saw.
So,
actually watching this thing, it was cool.
On that next one, same day, same location, we come to Denise Naslund. Same day, not but 4 hours later, same spot. She was abducted in the same fashion as Janice, and she too was never seen alive again.
Yeah, so the unique thing about these 2 was that, like, Sammamish, is that how you say that?
Sammamish.
Yep.
Sammamish. That particular day, there were thousands of people there.
Thousands.
So it was like a crowded day. There was events going on. People were playing games, and everybody's just hanging out, having a good time at this beach, this lake and beach area. Ted shows up, and he's got like his arm in a sling, I think it was, or a cast, and he's walking around like approaching people saying, "Hey, my name's Ted, and how you doing?" And he makes small talk, and then he said to numerous people that day, "Could you help me?" Women, could you help me come to my car here and get my boat off. I have, what do they call those little boats, like a tamarack, or what's the term?
I know what you're trying to say.
I don't know what it is. We'll just say boat.
That's funny. He didn't have rocks on his roof.
He didn't have rocks. I don't get that one.
He said, help him get his boat off.
Get his boat off.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Well, anyway, he was telling these girls, hey, could you come help me get my boat down? My arm's broken and I can't get it. And,
Catamaran?
Catamaran.
Okay.
That's what the term he used.
Isn't
Catamaran.
that a big thing?
Yeah, I thought catamarans were big.
Catamarans are pretty big.
This guy was just getting his little sloop.
His little boat. So anyway, he has these girls come over, and when they start approaching the car, they see there's no boat, and many of them would get freaked out and run the other way, and think like and then he finally got his story together to go, no, well, the boat is at my parents' house.
Yeah, what you heard me say when I said, could you help me with my boat? What I meant was, could you get in my car with me to go to my parents to go get the boat?
Right. And if we haven't mentioned already, Ted was a decent looking guy, good looking guy. When he'd approach these girls, like when you're kind of good looking guy, decent looking, a lot of times it'll right off the bat, they won't, maybe they'll have small talk with you because they're attracted to you. Well, this Janice was going through a separation at the time. She was, kind of maybe checking them out a little bit when they were talking back and forth. This is from witnesses around them.
Yeah, he was very 70s looking.
Yeah.
Like
and
he hung out with Tripper and stuff.
Dude,
right.
So I was just saying that to Dave earlier. Sorry, Dave. I'm sorry to cut you off like that. Dude, his original mugshot, he looks like Larry.
Larry's
a little bit.
neighbor.
Absolutely Larry.
Larry Dallas.
Yeah.
So that girl went off with him, according to the people that were around there. They had a little bit of small talk, and she agreed to go with him, never to be seen again. Now, the second girl, the Denise, was there with a group and actually with a boyfriend. And I think she went off to the bathroom or something, was within earshot of him, of the boyfriend. He could kind of see her talking to this guy, and there again heard the name Ted thrown out there and something. Saw her walk off with Ted and thought, oh, she's probably just going to help him with something. Didn't really think anything, wasn't threatened by it. When minutes turned into hours, then he called the police. And by that time, this other girl, people were looking for her, the Janice girl who was 4 hours earlier, I believe.
Yep.
And it created, then all these people, because if you walk around with a sling on or a cast, people are going to notice you.
Sure.
See,
So there were hundreds of eyewitnesses, thousands of eyewitnesses, but I know they interviewed a ton of them, and they all, Ted and tan Volkswagen.
is that where they came up with the composite sketch?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But it was funny when you say the parts of the cast and stuff. What led to the one girl Liz's suspicion of how weird this guy was, not only the sketch, but she also found pieces of cast, plaster of Paris. Is that what it is? Plaster of Paris?
Yep.
That stuff. He would use that to make the cast. And like she asked him about it or whatever. He's like, oh, it's some art project from school or something like that. But that was one of those things that led to like her suspicion of like, this guy's not, something's off.
Something's off with him. Yeah. Did you use your cast to pick up chicks when you had that?
When I had my broken ankle for football, yeah.
Yeah.
Me and I don't know if
Chris, just say Chris.
But I remember the cool part was because we had crutches, you could leave class like 10 minutes early, just like wander around the hall.
Yeah, you guys both had those.
Yeah.
They had the cast on.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys do the kid and play dance?
Yes, with the cast.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's cool. Cool back in the day.
That's fantastic.
That's a throwback.
Yeah, Kid and Play. If anybody knows about that out there, you're cool.
To be clear, the original House Party.
House
House
yeah.
Party.
They remade that, I think.
They had like
In
House
recent
Party
years.
2 and House Party 3. And
They did the originals that were back in the 90s, but they remade that in very recent years.
House
I didn't
music
see
all
that.
night long.
I guess it was that good.
I live in the 90s, man. I don't see any of that.
I'm telling you, as you ask me, I'll tell you the 90s was 10 years ago.
And 80s too, obviously. But yeah, Zap. So anyway, with these two, a lot of eyewitnesses.
Well, after Denise, after the little incidents at the Sammamish State Park, he moved to Salt Lake City, Utah in August of 1974 to, of all things, further his legal studies. And this is the best part, dude. This cat maintained a job at, of all places, Washington State's Department of Emergency Services. This is one of a number of entities responsible for searching for missing persons.
That's why Dave said it was a help,
Dude,
instead of a hindrance.
Absolutely. It's like he worked with the cops doing whatever earlier, and now he's doing the this.
You keep your enemies closer, right? And they keep
And there
one
was
of them
Keep
deals.
your friends close, enemies close.
there was the
Yeah.
answer to his employee.
Right.
So yeah, he is working
Right.
in his meantime.
And just in plain sight, here
Yeah.
this guy is, you know what I mean?
This for damn sure was one of those politically appointed jobs. Like this, look, because I've seen this happen. I have friends of mine in the political world that would go up. They're in law school, doing whatever in law school, but they still maintain employ by some senator, some rep, some government job, some kind of something. Like that was a thing even back in the 70s. I'm sure long before that. So yeah, that's cool. I'm getting a check. Plus I'm going to law school. Plus I'm killing chicks. Like that's cool, man.
Doing it all.
Think like what you said with that, though. I mean, I'm just putting it out there. I'm not being like political or anything on the podcast. But with Pennsylvania, like if you go to a state school, I believe if you put 6 years back into the state, that your school should be free. Just all this education that Bundy's getting. I'm just saying for putting your kids through school. I know it's very expensive.
Yeah,
but I think if you give the state back 6 years, I think that your college should be free. That's just me.
Interesting.
Putting that out there.
That is interesting.
Thank you.
I don't agree with it, but I think it's interesting. Well, lo and behold, wouldn't you know it? Not but a month later, September 6th, 1974, two hunters discovered the remains of George Ann Hawkins, Janice Ott, and Denise Naslund near the Lake Sammamish State Park.
There they are. Yeah.
So that's the first, that was the last three that we mentioned. So I just went through 8 murders. That was the last 3.
So you're saying those 3 are where he said, go find them in Sammamish Park.
Smashing it. That's where he just simply, I'm sorry, it's not even he.
They found
the bodies were found.
Shortly after, yeah.
So
who's they? As in like the cops or people walking around,
just
or
probably
hunters, hikers?
Could have been
hunters.
any of those, yeah.
2 hunters found these 3 dead bodies. Now, I have a sneaking suspicion that Matt is going to say, well, of course. Why wouldn't I take credit for that? Sure. Fuck it. I'll just mess with you.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, the dead bodies are the dead bodies. I'm sure they were eyewitness accounts themselves, and they interviewed themselves as dead people.
Yep.
And they were like, yeah, it was him.
Well, the other thing was this is 2 months later, so the bodies are probably still
Very
recognizable.
Oh, yeah, but they're still decomposed. It depends where they're at.
Decomposed, but what I'm saying is like
You're looking like 2 months.
Yeah.
You're still going to know what they look like.
Yep.
But you're out there in the middle. I mean, there's coyotes out there. Have you ever seen what they do to deer in like 2 weeks? Them damn
I know.
coyotes.
Well, we'll get into that later. I think.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Dude, a friend of mine had a dog. So a friend of mine lived in Arizona, and they had a little dog. And and I swear one of these days I'm going to get a goddamn dog. But anyway, so they had this little dog, and the little dog got away, escaped the yard, did whatever. They found the dog a day or 2 later with its butt, like eaten out. Like, I mean, like, it's
wow.
I'm saying its rear section was completely gutted. Basically,
is it still alive?
Basically, what the
I think his butt was ate out. I think it's dead.
This dog was as dead as fried chicken. But they took this dog to the vet or the wherever, and not to fix it because it was fucking dead, but they took it to the vet. Like, what happened? What could have done this? And the vet was
fucking cabre.
The vet was basically like, all right, look, from what I can gather, first this dog was, it might have been raped by, but it doesn't matter. And by raped, I mean by a coyote. But no matter what, a coyote ate this dog's butt.
Oh shit!
Out.
That's wild.
They called in the investigators like this dog has been raped. Who witnessed this?
It's possible that a coyote is going to want to do his thing and just
go at it
with a dog. I mean, dogs have sex with our dogs. A coyote's kind of like a dog.
True. The coyotes are like the hyenas of Central PA.
Yeah,
they're like a weird creature.
They're awful, dude.
They're awful. Yeah.
They are a pestilence in this area.
That would be a brutal way to go. To get raped, bad.
Butt raped by a coyote and then eaten,
and then
by the butt.
Done, yeah,
that's pretty terrible.
That's pretty bad.
So anyway, I can't say that there was any evidence of these chicks having been butt raped or anything like that. But if nonetheless their bodies in fact were discovered, that I can't say that it was. They linked it to Ted at this point, but they for damn sure found the bodies.
No, in no way, like when we go through this, am I trying to support this guy in any way?
Totally understood.
It's just that a lot of these things, when they just start popping out here, as we'll see later on in the story, maybe that a lot of this can mesh up with a lot of the reasons this guy's saying this stuff.
In other words, when you're already caught in jail, gonna get killed anyhow, you might as well just start making shit up.
But not even making shit up. I just
connecting yourself to crimes at once.
Just why we're still talking about this guy today. This stuff is, from what he said too, is just mind blowing. You would not think
if you kill 3, if you kill 30, there's books, movies.
That's cred.
Yeah, that's cred.
And that's like another thing. Like when we look at this guy, like the cred you say, but then there's guys out there who we haven't got to, like Gacy dude, where he's like
the cred you say.
Yeah.
But this dude's like, if you don't believe me, like I right down there, like check them, count those bodies, dude.
That's fair.
Well, there was one that we.
There is no
just-
denying that.
You know that smell? Yeah, go check that shit. That's me, yo.
Can't just smell that smell.
Well, what was the one we just did that? Oh, it was the police officer guy that was the one down in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
He was real concerned when he met one of these big names. I forget who he met in prison. Who was that? And the guy was most concerned with like, how many did you kill? It might have been Bundy.
Might have been.
He was like, how many did you kill? Oh, I just wanted to make sure. Like he wanted to make sure his number wasn't more than his.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I get where you're coming from.
Oh man, why can't I remember that cop's name?
Yeah.
But also in you got to figure too with a lot of cops and things like that, and in the court's a very strange, weird place. But there's things like plea bargains and different things like that, where the more that you can give up, like we can help you. What else do you know? Do you know anything about this? Do you know anything about that? And I think guys in his situation would embellish, but then again, the dude did a lot, and none of it is acceptable. It's just that how much of it really can you really say where it is?
Yeah, we'll find out, I think.
Yeah.
I think we will find out.
Hey guys, can you wrap it up?
Oh man.
What did I tell you, man? What did I tell you? This guy's
Much like that coyote that got butt raped.
dude. No, the coyote did the butt raping.
That's right. It was a small dog.
It was like a little chihuahua or something.
Oh my God.
Like a
the
Taco
horror.
Like
Can
a
you
Taco
imagine?
Bell dog got its butt eaten out
Yeah.
by a coyote.
Poor guy.
Coyote.
Poor coyote.
Man, this is a lot to cover.
This is.
We're only maybe a third of the way in, maybe half. I don't know.
Well, I
That's
don't
hard
know,
to
man.
say.
We'll see. Who's to say?
Well, with Dahmer went 3 parts. I'm not saying there's going to be 3 parts, but there's a lot to cover. We got a lot of cool side stories going on. I think this is a good one. So yeah, we'll definitely be back with at least a part 2.
At least a part 2.
At
Maybe
least.
a part 3. Who knows? I mean, that's
You don't even know.
You don't even know.
With,
Who's to say?
with Zap's facts, we have the stuff that we're getting in here. I mean, this is a good one.
Dog rapes.
There's a lot. I hope you're entertained. Zap did a lot of research. Matt did a lot. I did a lot of research. Matt's got all his stuff, fun facts over there. We're doing a lot. So if you're enjoying this, and I keep saying this, hit that 5-star rating. Go in there, leave us a review. It's really going to help us out. And tune back in next week for at least a part 2. And I guess that's it for now. So we'll catch you where?
On the flip side,
If we don't see you sooner, we'll see you later.
peace. Thanks for hanging out in the old dirty basement. If you dig our theme music like we do, check out the Tsunami Experiment. Find them on Facebook. Their music is available streaming on Spotify and Apple, and where great music is available.
You can find us at Old Dirty Basement on Facebook and Instagram, and at Old Dirty Basement Podcast on TikTok.
Peace.
We outie 5000.